All right, guys, so these last two sections are really a bonus for this course because they go way beyond just JavaScript fundamentals. We're going to get into building a full stack application. So this particular section, we're going to build the backend, which is the API. So we'll have routes that we can hit with HTTP requests to create, read, update, and delete ideas. That's what this application is centered on, is just random ideas in different categories or different tags. So what you're looking at now is the front end, which we're going to build in the next section, and we're going to use Webpack. We'll use modules, UI components, much like you would do with a framework like React. So this will be the end result where we have these random ideas by certain usernames. So we're not going to implement authentication, but we are going to have usernames, and we're going to store the username in local storage so that when you go to add an idea, the username is pre-filled. All right, so if I just put something in here, I'll just say this is a test, and we'll put a tag, let's say inventions. So there are some tags that if we add, they're going to be certain colors. All right, and then I can only delete the ones that are associated with my username, which right now is Tony Stark. So if I can delete this, but I can't delete these. All right, even if the X was here, which it's not, we can't make that request because we set up the validation on the back end. It's not true authentication, but it does mimic how authentication actually works, which is what I wanted to do. Now, as far as the tools we'll use, Express is a back-end web framework for Node.js. It's going to make it easy to create our routes. We're going to create a data model for our ideas, a model and a schema, and we'll be able to make requests using Postman. So basically, before we do our front end, this is how we test. So for instance, if we send to the domain, which I actually have deployed on render.com, if we go to API/ideas, then we get an array of our ideas. Okay, if I make a post request, I can add an idea. A put request will update, and a delete, of course, will delete. So that will be the first, this section here. We're also going to implement a database. So at first, it'll just be ideas in memory, but afterwards, we're going to talk about what MongoDB is, which is a NoSQL database, and we're going to implement that. We're going to create a MongoDB database in the cloud with a tool called Atlas. And then to use it within our application, we're going to use a tool called Mongoose. So we can install Mongoose, we can connect to our database, and we can make queries using simple methods like find by ID, find and update, things like that. All right, so ultimately we'll end up with this full stack application where we have our backend API, and then we have our client folder with all our Webpack stuff, and then when we run npm run build, we're gonna have that go into the public folder here, which is our static folder. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into this. The application obviously is really simple, but the infrastructure is pretty in-depth, and it can be a little overwhelming, but I'm going to try to take you step by step and explain everything that we're doing in really simple terms. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you enjoy it, and let's get started.